Meet our guy, Wang Tianxia, the youngest and most powerful godfather in the city. Despite reaching the pinnacle of the underworld, he often finds himself feeling lonely and empty at the top. This time, our boy heads out with his right-hand man, Ding, to inspect a new shipment. The atmosphere is incredibly tense, as if they're dealing with something highly dangerous and illegal. To everyone's surprise, the top-quality goods are actually just imported milk powder. Our boy even goes as far as testing it himself, claiming it tastes exactly like home. Even as a mob boss, our guy plans to lead his crew into legitimate businesses. He believes children are the future, even if his subordinates find this sudden career pivot a bit bizarre. However, tragedy strikes before he can start his new life. While planning the future, an assassin opens fire, leaving the legendary godfather bleeding out on the ground as his consciousness fades. When our boy wakes up again, he's stunned by his surroundings. He has reincarnated as a weak student named Chen Jiong, and has just woken up mid-bullying in a school bathroom. Struggling with a splitting headache, our guy is being humiliated by these punks before he can even process the situation. A former mafia king won't take this lying down. Someone is going to pay. Our boy frantically splashes water on his face, trying to make sense of the chaos. He clearly remembers getting shot, yet he woke up in the body of some kid who reeks of urine. This is one hell of a wake-up call. Staring at the bruised, youthful face in the mirror, memories of his past life as a ruthless mob boss flash by. The legendary Wang Tianxia has been reborn, and he's now trapped in the body of a 16-year-old. Keeping his cool, our guy checks his phone and realizes the date isn't far off from his death. No one would ever believe he's a reincarnated boss, so for now, he'll just have to play the part of Chen Jiong and figure things out. Just as he's processing things, 3 school bullies calling themselves the 3 demons of Class 2 show up to cause trouble. Seeing that our boy isn't cowering like a victim anymore, they start putting on an obnoxious, over-the-top show. The idiots make the fatal mistake of insulting our boy's mother, crossing a line they really shouldn't have. His gaze turns deathly cold, emitting a murderous aura that catches the bullies off guard. Before they can finish their sentence, our boy buries a heavy fist into the lead bully's face. With his professional fighting instincts, these school punks are absolutely no match for a man who used to rule the underworld. With one final blow, the 3 demons are left groveling on the floor. Standing over them, our boy gives them a chilling warning. He has zero tolerance for anyone disrespecting his family. Now, they're going to apologize. Disgusted by his soiled clothes, our guy forces the bully to hand over his clean uniform. As he fixes his hair and puts on the fresh jacket, that unmistakable boss energy finally begins to radiate from his new body. After totally dominating the fight, our boy confronts the bullies. He mockingly offers them a taste of their own medicine, leaving them absolutely terrified and trembling before him. Seeing their pathetic state, our boy doesn't just stop. Instead, he sports a cold smirk and asks if they want to become his subordinates, showing the strategic mindset of a former boss. Just then, the notorious Dean bursts in. Seeing the aftermath of the brawl, he explodes in rage and orders everyone to his office immediately. It looks like the trouble is just beginning. The scene shifts to the Dean's office, where the atmosphere is thick with tension. The Dean sits behind his desk, demanding to know who started the fight, looking for a scapegoat. Unsurprisingly, Zhao Long snitches immediately, pinning everything on our boy. That's when it clicks for our guy. The Dean is actually Zhao Long's father. Talk about an unfair advantage. After the bullies leave with petty threats, the Dean digs up our boy's failing grades. He uses the fight as the perfect excuse to threaten him with immediate expulsion from the school. Facing the threat of expulsion, our boy tries to stay calm for the sake of his new identity. He attempts to reason with the Dean, but the old man won't budge. He wants parents involved. Standing alone outside, our boy hesitates. He doesn't want to cause trouble for this body's mother, but he has no choice. He takes a deep breath and finally makes the call. An hour later, Chen Jiong's mother arrives as promised. The moment the strict Dean Diao lays eyes on this elegant and strikingly beautiful parent, his demeanor completely changes, and he greets her with enthusiastic warmth. To protect her son, Chen's mother calmly asks the Dean the reason for the summons, while our boy, standing nearby, silently observes the entire interaction. Dean Diao immediately puts on a cheerful face, blaming the entire incident on Chen Jiong for starting a fight. Upon hearing this, Chen's mother rushes forward to check her son's injuries, her heart aching at the sight. However, when Dean Diao declares his intent to expel Chen Jiong for hitting the wrong person, the previously gentle look in Chen's mother's eyes turns sharp in an instant. She fires back unapologetically, questioning the dean as to why the bullies who hurt her son every week were never expelled. Faced with this protective mother's sharp point, Dean Dio is left speechless and clearly cornered. Seeing that reasoning with a biased man like Dean Dio was futile, our boy finally understood. Without further hesitation, he silently picks up a heavy idiom dictionary. His sudden move startles Dean Dio, who points at him in panic and shouts. Our boy simply smiles calmly and utters a single sentence that sends a chill down everyone's spine. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, a sharp-eyed man with purple hair calmly smokes a cigarette, seemingly waiting for something. Will he become the one to resolve this whole situation? Back in the office, as soon as the words are spoken, our guy doesn't hesitate. He grabs the thick dictionary and smashes it forcefully against his own head. This shocking act of self-harm leaves both Dean Dio and Chen's mother completely stunned. While clutching his forehead and pretending to be in pain, he wears a strange smile and threatens the dean directly. If he walks out of this office bleeding from the head, would the dean still be able to keep his job? Finally, Dean Dio realizes he's not dealing with an ordinary student, but being threatened in a rather unorthodox way. Yet, our boy just smirks and claims this is merely a negotiation. Faced with this ruthless and unconventional tactic, Dean Dio weighs his options and ultimately gives in. With the storm seemingly quelled for now, Chen's mother takes her son and walks out of the office. Walking down the hallway, our guy starts to feel a massive headache over how to explain his recent behavior to this mother. However, just then, he remembers something urgent. He quickly leaves his mother behind and rushes back to his classroom. But the moment he pushes the door open, he's met with a new and even more malicious form of provocation. Fresh from his fight and now back in the classroom, our boy gets a strange sense of being watched before a more immediate problem hits him. He's having trouble remembering which desk is actually his. A few bullies seize the chance, pointing toward a desk covered in nasty doodles and cruel words, mocking that he must have taken too many hits to the head. But when Chen Jiong finally lays eyes on the desk covered with degrading graffiti, the dormant killer instinct from his past life instantly ignites. With a cold sneer and without a single word, he rears back and kicks the offending desk with all his might, shattering it in an instant. The sudden, violent display of raw power leaves the entire class stunned into complete, terrified silence. A quiet voice tells him it was Zhao Long's crew, but our boy isn't intimidated by such petty threats in his mind. The next move is already set. The school bell finally rings, signaling the end of class, but trouble has no such schedule. Our guy barely makes it a few steps outside the gate before a group of local street punks surrounds him. The leader, a smirking bald guy, steps forward with Zhao Long at his side, clearly aiming to settle this for his bro and demanding an apology. Faced with this direct threat, our boy does the opposite of backing down. He shoots back with pure defiance, urging them to stop talking and just fight if that's what they came for. However, he quickly realizes that the stamina and speed of this teenage body are a far cry from his prime, and despite his sharp technique, he takes a couple of solid, bruising hits that land painfully. But in that moment of the bald guy's flash of triumph, Chen Jiong spots the opening. He's been waiting for his chance to counter. Just then, his neighbor, the silver-haired girl, calls out to him and is shocked to see his bruised face. To avoid exposing his identity, our guy has a flash of inspiration and claims he lost his memory from the beating, even pretending he forgot which floor he lives on. Back in his room, he finds his bookshelf stacked with chemistry books and dryly wonders if the original owner wanted to make biochemical weapons for revenge. At least now, he can finally catch his breath and rest for a moment. Lying in bed, he immediately starts pondering the truth behind his past life assassination. In his domain, no one should have dared to make a move against him. He decides to contact his right-hand man from his past life, Ah Ding. But pulling out his phone, he hits an unfortunate snag. He can't remember Ah Ding's number. In the end, he decides to go find Ah Ding in person. After all, his voice has changed, and a phone call wouldn't explain anything. However, before he can find Ah Ding, he's stopped by two bouncers at the bar entrance who say a kid like him can't come in. He's about to get angry when he suddenly overhears a group of mysterious figures conspiring from behind a wall. They're planning to kill Ah Ding tonight. The situation becomes urgent in an instant. He quickly hides, and just then, his target Ah Ding staggers out of the bar, heavily drunk and being supported by someone. Confronted by the oncoming assailants, our guy shouts in anger, deciding to give this fight everything he's got to show them what he's made of. However, the terrible coordination of his new body betrays him, and he embarrassingly trips and falls face first to the ground after just a few steps. An enemy wearing an eye patch tries to stomp on him, but our boy reacts swiftly, delivering a powerful kick that sends the attacker flying. Immediately after, an explosion seems to rock the area, sending debris and enemies flying. Exhausted, our guy collapses to his knees, his body spent and racked with pain. He is later taken to a VIP booth in a bar called the Drunken Bar. Inside, a suited gangster boss is laughing heartily, praising our boy and even expressing a desire to make him his godson. Right then, a phone call brings bad news. The stray dog gang has surrounded the hospital. Realizing his boss's comatose body is in danger, our guy knows he has to leave immediately. But a silver-haired woman, who appears to be Shinjeong's mother, stops him harshly, demanding to know where he thinks he's going. His mother angrily asks, "Why didn't you listen to me? Do you want to end up like your father?" Her words are filled with pain and concern. She then pleads, "You shouldn't be here. I've already lost your father. I can't lose you too." In the end, under her insistence, our guy can only follow her home reluctantly. Late at night, back home, our guy sits on the edge of his bed, replaying the day's dangers. He realizes the stray dog gang seem to target both him and Ah Ding simultaneously, leaving him with pressing new questions. A new chapter begins. The blue-haired woman sits center stage with the orange-haired and purple-haired men standing behind her, all against a vibrant city nightscape. The scene shifts to the orange-haired man with bandages, looking troubled as he recalls Ding mentioning that the Sango gang had their hospital surrounded. He contemplates that without the boss, brother Ding Peng likely can't control the gang alone. He muses about the daunting height of the hospital building. Sitting on the bed, sweat on his brow, he notes that the security bars on the window, meant to stop burglars, ironically make it easier for them to be trapped. He rushes outside, sprinting through the nightlit streets. He trusts Ding's smarts to have chosen a safe spot, but a growing sense of unease pushes him forward. At the hospital's main entrance, tension is high. A group of toughs in vests and masks loudly proclaim they've come to visit Big Brother Tianxia, facing off against stern-looking guards in black suits. The orange-haired man circles to the back alley, surprised to find no guards at the rear entrance. He struggles up flights of stairs, cursing whoever thought to build a hospital so high while his anxiety spikes. He manages to sneak inside, hiding behind a corner to eavesdrop. Two guards are whispering about how their boss Tianxia seems to be seriously injured. This news only heightens his alarm. He silently moves through the hallways, determined to find his original body and a way back into it, guessing it must be in the central room. However, the corridor leading to the main room is heavily guarded by two men in black suits. Knowing he can't force his way past, he starts looking for an alternate entrance, like an air vent. He takes a risky chance and tries to climb in through a high window, but loses his grip, tumbling down and hitting the floor with a painful thud, utterly stunned. Meanwhile, in the central room, the original purple-haired man lies gravely injured on a bed, bandaged and bloody. The blue-haired woman, the gang princess, watches over him with deep concern. Looking at her comatose fiancé, her confusion turns to frustration and anger. She even straddles him, demanding to know why he won't wake up no matter what she tries. Her attempts at a seductive pose fail. In desperation, she slaps his face, shouting at this pervert who used to love watching her to open his eyes. Finally, she leans over him and drops an ultimatum: if he doesn't wake up, she may have to marry his lieutenant to secure the gang's future. Unseen by her, the orange-haired man, lying on the floor nearby, hears every word. Hearing her desperate words, the onlooking orange-haired man Wang Tianxia's soul erupts with a silent, internal scream, "No!" The scene shifts to a mysterious room, where a blue-haired woman sits elegantly by the window, holding a wine glass, lost in thought. Suddenly, a noise from the ceiling vent startles her, and she instantly demands to know who's there. An orange-haired boy then falls out of the vent, landing clumsily in the room. He scrambles to his feet and urgently starts explaining his identity to the furious woman. His story fails to convince her. The woman points directly to an unconscious man on the bed, sarcastically questioning who this so-called Wang Tianxia really is. In a desperate move, our guy tries to prove his identity by revealing intimate details that only the woman, Lu Fair, should know. However, his words utterly infuriate her. With a flushed face, Lu Fair punches him in the gut, then grabs a nearby vase and smashes it over his head. Dazed and sprawled on the floor, our guy groans in pain. Meanwhile, the fuming Lu Fair remarks to another person in the room, hardly believing this clumsy kid dared to claim he was Wang Tianxia. Outside, tension escalates as two groups of people face off, yelling at each other to move out of the way. In this tense standoff, a familiar voice cuts through. Lu Fair emerges with her companion, immediately recognizing a bald man in the crowd and bluntly calling him out by name. In the middle of the night, the hall of the former headquarters is brightly lit. Ah Ding and his loyal crew stand solemnly at the side, while the turncoat Sha Pai has brought his men to block the entrance. Calmly facing this former good brother, Wang Tianxia, in the appearance of the purple-haired youth, greets him with an air of composure. The shock is written all over the faces of Sha Pai's men, especially a blonde captain, as they recognize who it is. They can't believe their eyes. The boss they watched die, Wang Tianxia, is standing right in front of them, alive and well. Our guy, Wang Tianxia, offers a theatrically apologetic greeting to Sha Pai for disturbing him in the dead of night, though his tone drips with sarcasm and authority. His loyal subordinates stand ready, surrounding them. Wang Tianxia then shifts his tone, saying he heard they brought chicken stew for the brothers. As he moves to inspect the gift, with false courtesy, one of Sha Pai's bald henchmen violently smashes the container, instantly escalating the tense standoff. Violence erupts immediately. The blonde powerhouse by Wang Tianxia's side strikes, flooring the troublemaker. Watching his man writhe on the ground, Wang Tianxia shrugs with a feigned apology, claiming his hand slipped. It's a brutal and deliberate warning to Sha Pai. Stung but powerless to retaliate, Sha Pai doubles over in pain, forced to offer a strained smile and say he's happy to see the boss in good health. Yet his eyes and heart burn with suppressed fear and resentment. Having cowed his opposition, Wang Tianxia is in high spirits. He tells Ah Ding and all his men to get ready to celebrate his return. An overjoyed Ah is moved to tears, making Wang Tianxia both amused and touched by his loyalty. Meanwhile, across town, the thoroughly humiliated Sha Pai flies into a rage, smashing his own hideout in sheer frustration. He can't comprehend why Wang Tianxia, who is dead, is now walking and talking. Once he calms down, Sha Pai immediately makes an angry call to a mysterious contact, demanding to know why they guaranteed Wang Tianxia's death if he's still alive. This setback threatens to unravel the plans of the mastermind behind him. On the other end of the line, the unseen mastermind reacts not with panic, but with an intrigued chuckle upon hearing the news. They issue a simple, chilling new order: if Wang Tianxia didn't die the first time, then finish the job for good. Meanwhile, back at the celebration, Wang Tianxia's former crew is caught up in the joyous reunion, raising their glasses in tribute to the return of their true leader amidst a festive atmosphere. Watching Ah Ding cling to his arm while weeping uncontrollably, Wang Tianxia can't help but tease him for being a crybaby. Ah Ding sniffles that these are tears of pure joy and relief. Nothing matters more than his boss's safe return. In contrast, the purple-haired girl, Lu Fair, remains more analytical. She reminds everyone that while their boss is back, the mystery of why his original body fell into a coma in the first place remains unsolved. Rewinding 2 hours before the celebration, the injured high school student Chen Jiong lies asleep in a hospital bed. His body and soul are quietly integrating, but the web of conspiracy and danger that brought them together is just beginning to unfold. Caught between two identities, our boy is lost in thought. The life of a former underworld godfather and a weak high schooler are now beginning to blur together. He confesses everything to Fair, explaining how his soul ended up in the boy's body after the assassination. To convince her, he describes Chen Jiong's mundane and messy school life. Just hours ago, our boy was fighting for survival at school and dealing with a strict mother. Suddenly, his memories shift back to the glory days of ruling the bars and leading his men. The aura of a leader returns as he looks at his loyal men. But before he can savor the moment, Fair's desperate shouting and fiery temper break the illusion, trying to pull him back from unconsciousness. With a sharp physical wake-up call, our boy snaps back to reality. To his horror, he realizes he's trapped once again in Chen Jiong's bruised and fragile teenage body. Fair is startled by his sudden reaction, while our boy just scoffs in the mirror, finding this back-and-forth situation both frustrating and absurd. The soul swap is more complex than he thought. A hangover headache throbs in his brain, and our boy even tries a desperate headbutt to trigger another swap. Though it only leaves him with a bump, he knows he must face reality to find a way out. Instead of waiting for death, he decides to strike first. Our boy chooses to return to school as Chen Jiong, using his undercover status to hunt down the mastermind behind the betrayal. To stabilize the situation, our boy decides to live as Chen Jiong for now. He leaves a note for his loyal subordinates, entrusting them with the gang's affairs. It's 4 a.m., but he's wide awake. He can't help but wonder who is secretly pulling the strings of the Sangoli gang, a mystery he's determined to solve. Morning arrives at 7 a.m., and his mother wakes him up for school. Despite being an underworld boss at heart, he has to play the part of a regular student for now. Walking to school, our boy is mentally preparing to blend into his new identity when a sudden shout from behind snaps him back to his current reality. It's his neighbor, Xiao Mei, who jokingly asks if he's forgotten the way to school after the fight. Together, they arrive at the gates of number 5 high school. Just as they enter, our boy spots some familiar faces. To avoid any unwanted trouble, he even tries to hide his face, desperate to sneak past unnoticed. Of course, his plan to hide fails. A group of lackeys bows deeply and shouts "boss" at the top of their lungs, drawing the attention of everyone nearby. The new followers pledge their loyalty, and even present him with a custom t-shirt crowning him the number 1 boss of the school. Our boy is completely stunned. Facing the stunned and confused gazes of his classmates, our boy sighs. His plan to stay low-key has officially backfired on his very first day back. After the girl huffs and walks away, our guy is left standing there in a cold sweat. Even with a mob boss's soul, dealing with a girl's mood swings seems to be his one true weakness. Panicking a bit, our boy realizes he needs to stop those idiots before they ruin his hard-earned reputation. If things go sideways now, his plan to rule the school might go up in smoke. While our boy is chatting with his peers, the infamous Dean Xiao shows up with his bad men must die headband. He looks ready to blow a fuse, clearly targeting our guy for another lecture. Suddenly, a roar echoes as Roland zooms in on her red motorcycle. Despite the Dean's furious shouting, she stays cool and even gives a casual salute, completely unfazed by his authority. Just as the Dean is about to explode, the principal steps in. With a few sharp words, he points out there's no rule against bikes, effectively shutting down the Dean's bias rant on the spot. Watching the arrogant Dean get roasted by the principal is pure karma, and the students can't help but laugh. Embarrassed, he starts barking orders at everyone to get to class immediately. Our boy enters the classroom, only to be swarmed by curious classmates treating him like a local hero. Just as he's starting to enjoy the attention, he's suddenly caught off guard by a swift slap. A new challenger appears. This guy has the nerve to demand homework from our boy. Big mistake. Our guy is done being a pushover and immediately shows him who the real boss is. The whole class is stunned because our boy actually had the guts to yell at the bully, Li Zhuang. Realizing he needs to lay low, he quickly tells himself to stay calm and play the part. Seeing Li Zhuang about to lose it, our boy immediately switches back to his coward persona, claiming it was all a joke to de-escalate the tension and avoid a public brawl. The onlookers are disappointed, thinking he's still the same loser. As our boy walks away, he can feel their judgment, but he knows he's just biding his time in this new life. The school bell rings, and while others gossip about movies, our boy is completely drained from the previous night's chaos. He collapses onto his desk, desperate for some shut-eye. The peace doesn't last long. Li Zhuang slaps him awake, demanding a sandwich like he's a servant. This time, our boy's patience has officially run out, and his expression turns cold. Despite others trying to intervene, our boy has had enough. He finally snaps, delivering a powerful, lightning-fast punch that catches Li Zhuang completely off guard. That one punch was all it took. The formerly arrogant bully is now terrified, submissively massaging our boy's shoulders and begging for forgiveness in front of the entire class. As our boy starts ordering the other bullies around, the class watches in stunned silence. He just gives them a chilling smirk. The social hierarchy of this classroom has officially changed. Our boy's aura is becoming impossible to ignore. Even the girls in the hallway are whispering about how intimidating yet fascinating he's become. It seems his new vibe is turning heads left and right. Qin Jiang is a celebrity now. The punks who used to bully him are now calling him Big Brother Jiang with total respect. But our guy couldn't care less. He's exhausted and just wants a nap. His new lackeys warn him that beating Li Zhuang means trouble with the school's top boss, Sun Xiaodong. Apparently, the guy has underworld ties, but our boy just scoffs. A school boss is nothing to him. Meanwhile, the real trouble is brewing. A beaten-up subordinate kneels before Sun Xiaodong, begging for revenge. The school boss, however, just keeps playing his mobile game, acting completely unbothered. Sun is actually annoyed by his underlings begging. He's about to graduate and doesn't want to fight, but the argument that their gang's reputation is on the line starts to get under his skin. Finally, the undisputed boss decides it's time to meet this rising star, Qin Jiang. He stubs out his cigarette with a cold glint in his eyes, ordering his men to send a message. A clash at the top is inevitable. The word reaches the classroom, and a terrified classmate tells our boy that someone is looking for him. Chin Jiong wakes up, unfazed. Since trouble is knocking, he might as well settle this once and for all. Suddenly, a student named Sun Xiaodong approaches our boy with a friendly wave. Despite the polite smile, our guy remains on high alert, wondering what this stranger could possibly want. Don't let the smile fool you. Behind Sun stands the core of his gang. These guys aren't just for show, their mere presence shifts the atmosphere from calm to incredibly tense. Sun cuts straight to the chase, inviting our boy to join his gang. He promises protection and various perks, clearly impressed by our guy's recent rise in the school hierarchy. But as a former mafia boss, our boy isn't interested in kid stuff. He shuts Sun down immediately, mocking the idea of high schoolers acting like thugs instead of focusing on their future. Our boy casually mentions he's got an apology letter to write, inviting Sun to find him after school if he's got a problem. Surprisingly, his boldness only makes Sun more intrigued. Though Sun claims to admire the cool attitude, he immediately gets on the phone to call in his brothers. It looks like a storm is officially brewing for our boy. Back in class, our boy focuses on his studies with exams looming. But after school, his neighbor Xiaomei is waiting for him, her eyes filled with visible concern for his safety. Xiaomei is terrified that the bullies from earlier will seek revenge, so she insists on walking him home. Our boy is touched by her sincerity, even if he knows he can handle himself. When Xiaomei begs him to stop fighting, our boy makes it clear he's done being a punching bag. He's decided to stand his ground and never run away from a fight again. Right on cue, a gang of thugs surrounds them with smug grins. They make their ultimatum clear. Our boy isn't leaving unless he can fight his way through every single one of them. Seeing the crowd gathering, our boy realizes things are about to get ugly. Since he's got a classmate with him, he tells her to run the moment she gets a chance to avoid getting caught in the crossfire. One of the seniors suggests taking their spar somewhere else. With a calm face, our boy hands his backpack to the girl and tells her to take it home, preparing to face the gang alone. The opposition is clearly prepared, showing off a lineup of tough guys with arrogant expressions. Looking at their aggressive stance, it's clear this confrontation isn't going to end peacefully. They try to recruit our boy on behalf of Sun Xiaodong, but he isn't the type to follow orders. Instead of backing down, he responds with a sharp, provocative sneer, showing total contempt for them. Negotiations fail, and the gang lunges forward. To avoid being surrounded, our boy takes off at full speed. He tries to outrun them, but these guys are incredibly persistent, chasing him for over half an hour. Frustrated by the chase, the leader calls for backup. Just as our boy stops to catch his breath, he notices the footsteps behind him have suddenly gone silent, which only adds to his growing unease. Suddenly, the roar of engines fills the air as two motorcycles speed toward him. The riders spot our boy instantly, shouting excitedly that they've finally cornered their target. Seeing the bikers close in, our boy's heart sinks. The rider sneers, threatening him with the brutal consequences of crossing the Iron Blood Werewolf gang. The real crisis is just getting started. Just as our boy was running out of breath, his pursuers caught up. At that critical moment, a red motorcycle roared in, and he didn't hesitate to hop on for a quick escape. The rider signaled our boy to get ready, and then gunned the engine. The sheer urgency of the escape left him with no time to wonder who his savior actually was. The bike sped off with a wheelie. Our boy tried to offer his thanks, but he froze when he realized that the person behind the helmet was actually a girl. With pursuers closing in, Chen Roland had no time for talk. She focused on the breakthrough, driving so fast that our boy nearly lost his balance in terror. To stay alive, our boy had to grab onto whatever he could. The pursuers behind them were screaming in rage, swearing to bring the motorcycle to a halt. The lead pursuers looked demonic, clearly recognizing the rider. They screamed Chen Roland's name as a thrilling high-speed chase unfolded through the city streets. Suddenly, the sharp wail of police sirens echoed from a distance, adding chaos to the scene. Realizing the danger, the gang members signaled to each other to split up. The police intervention made our boy nervous, given his delicate situation. With the law closing in, can Chen Roland actually get them out of this mess safely? Trying to shake off the police car, the mysterious red-helmeted rider has the motorcycle's throttle wide open, tearing down the highway with roaring engines, while the orange-haired passenger in the back is absolutely terrified, shouting in panic. Immediately after, he spots a roadblock dead ahead, but the rider shows no sign of slowing down. Instead, upon the rider's command of "rush forward," he dangerously steers straight at it. The blonde-haired man addresses the two dark-haired men seated across from him with a smile, stating he's been watching them for a long time and decided to pay their father a visit, bluntly asking, "What happened to your face, uncle?" Just then, a call comes in. One of the dark-haired men answers his phone, informing the person on the other end, "Xiao Dong, Ruolan has already arrived home." However, overhearing a name mentioned in the phone call, the blonde man's expression turns intrigued. He can't help but interject and confirm, "Chun Jiong?" The dark-haired man hangs up the phone, indicating with impatience that enough is enough, and they can discuss whatever they need to when they meet tomorrow. The blonde man presses the issue, asking if this Chun Jiong is the boastful 10th grader from their school, to which the dark-haired man counters by inquiring if the blonde man knows him. The blonde man offers an enigmatic reply. He doesn't know this Chun Jiong personally, but he happens to know someone with the exact same name. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to a deep expanse of stars, where the purple-haired powerhouse regains consciousness and confusion, finding himself in an unfamiliar, ethereal space. He quickly notices the orange-haired teenager curled up and floating nearby. Isn't that Chun Jiong? He immediately tries to call out and wake him. But Chun Jiong seems lost in a deep state, showing no response to the call. The purple-haired man's tone sharpens as he demands, "If you're alive, say something!" Finally, in his unconscious state, Chun Jiong voices his deepest, most profound resistance, whispering in distress, "I don't want to go back." His agitation grows as he laments the loneliness and contempt he faces in reality, repeatedly asserting his desire not to return. Chun Jiong jolts awake from the dream, sitting up drenched in sweat as he tries to make sense of the bizarre and troubling vision he just experienced. The school day starts with a bang as a sleek red motorcycle at the entrance turns everyone's heads. It's the latest model, and the students can't stop buzzing about who owns such a beast. While the crowd stares, a student approaches Chenrulin. Before she can even process what's happening, he drops the shiny keys right into her palm, leaving her completely stunned. Staring at the limited edition bike, Roland's heart skips a beat. She looks toward our boy, her curiosity piquing as she wonders just how many secrets this guy is hiding from her. The cool vibes vanish instantly as the disciplined dean, sporting his delinquents must die headband, fumes on stage over a police report about yesterday's reckless speeding incident. As students gossip about the culprit, our boy tries to keep a low profile. However, his neighbor Xiaomei catches him, her expression serious as she worries he's back to his old ways. Our boy tries to laugh off the interrogation with a nervous smile. Xiaomei even promises to get a teacher's help, unaware that in the faculty's eyes, he's actually the biggest troublemaker. Before he can explain, a group of lackeys swarms him, cheering for Brother Jiang and bragging about his heroic escape. This sudden wave of praise is definitely making things worse. Seeing the fanboy's excitement, Xiao Mei's gaze turns sharp as she realizes she's been tricked. The misunderstanding is peaked, and our boy's school life is about to get a lot more interesting. This instantly put Chen Jiang on high alert, suspecting this was a honey trap, set by Sun Xiaodong to lower his guard. However, Chen Ruolan took the initiative to invite him to a secluded spot. On the empty rooftop, she was direct, explaining she helped him because she despised Sun Xiaodong's group's arrogance and admired Chen Jiang's difference. She specifically emphasized that she hoped Chen Jiang would have the courage to confront Sun Xiaodong head-on, otherwise, the guy would only grow more overbearing. Our guy, however, just wanted to avoid trouble. He bluntly stated he didn't want any more complications and was ready to leave. But Chen Ruolan clearly wasn't about to let him off the hook. She pressed him against the wall and declared that if he could defeat Sun Xiaodong, she would be his. This unexpected, bold offer left even the once mighty mob boss at a loss for words. Just moments ago, the blonde-haired guy was teasing the orange-haired guy with whispers like "You like the view?" leaving our boy flushed and practically steaming. The guy with glasses then smugly declared that she was his girlfriend, flashing a somewhat provocative smile. Hearing this, our boy was completely stunned, stammering to try and stop this nonsense, while the guy with glasses became thoroughly enraged, his smug smile gone. Then, to everyone's shock, she planted a kiss on him. The sudden move left our boy's mind blank, his face instantly turned beet red and drenched in sweat. This intimate scene was witnessed by the black-haired man with a death to delinquents headband, seemingly a teacher. He and several onlookers froze in place, their minds utterly blown. Chapter cover and staff list. Story continues. The teacher with the death to delinquents headband, Diao, predictably erupted in fury. He demanded to know how they dared act so shamelessly in broad daylight, and ordered our boy and the blonde girl to report to his office immediately. Inside the office, even with the door between them, Dio was already berating our boy, calling him the cancer of the school, a good-for-nothing who only knew how to fight and had even hooked Shinrolin. Hearing this, the shock on our boy's face was instantly replaced by an icy calm. He stared straight at Dio and slowly repeated, "What was that you just said?" The sudden coldness in his eyes plunged the atmosphere to freezing point. At that moment, the blonde-haired girl, Shinrolin, stepped forward. Calmly staring down Diao, she stated bluntly that it was her freedom to be with whoever she wanted, questioning why he had to interfere. Diao, being contradicted, flew into a rage. Pointing at Shinrolin, he shouted that if he couldn't control her, he'd call the principal. But before he could finish, a stern voice echoed from outside the door. The principal himself appeared at the door, leaning on his cane with his hands on his hips, his expression grave. It seemed the commotion in the office had finally attracted the real authority figure. In the office, an exasperated Dean Zhao is loudly complaining to the headmaster about our boy and Roland causing more trouble. The headmaster, however, calmly says he'll handle it, dismissing Dean Zhao. Meanwhile, he uses his cane to lightly press against our boy's neck, asking a question that makes him sweat. "Boy, did you kiss my Roland?" Under the friendly pressure of the cane, our guy admits it, while secretly thinking Roland initiated it. Pleased with our boys owning up, the headmaster smiles. He turns and asks his granddaughter if she really likes this kid. Roland shyly tells him to stop asking, while he laughingly claims youth affairs are none of his business. But then he turns back, narrowing his eyes to give our boy a stern warning. "But if you dare hurt my Fei-Fei granddaughter, you won't get away with it." The sudden murderous aura shocks our boy. The familiar, dangerous aura reminds our guy of his previous life's equally overprotective father-in-law, Lu Qinfeng, leaving him frozen in place. The headmaster calmly ends the conversation, just reminding them to be discreet at school. Roland happily praises her grandpa, while a fuming Dean Zhao vows to expel our boy from the school. While the meeting in the headmaster's office ends for now, the hatred in Dean Zhao's eyes makes it clear that his schemes against our guy are far from over.